So over the span of 6 months or so, I visited 428 places across the state. And the tacos I ate, I think are more than 1,200.
Welcome to the Hidden City Podcast. I'm Grant.
And I'm Doug, and we're here to share some of the incredible stories and people from Oak Cliff that you might not know.
We're going to sit down with some of the visionaries, craftsmen, and business owners who have shaped Oak Cliff into what it is today.
Oak Cliff is on the south bank of the Trinity River, a few miles south of downtown Dallas. While technically it was part of Dallas, it was its own city for a long time, and it still has that independent spirit.
We'll dive into the history and the spirit of this place, exploring the different challenges and successes that defined it.
This is The Hidden City, a podcast about the people and the stories that make Oak Cliff extraordinary.
Well, welcome to this episode of the Hidden City Podcast. We've got José Ralat today with us, the Texas Monthly taco editor. He's also a James Beard Award winner 2 times. And the author of American Tacos, A History and Guide. So, Jose, thanks for being on the show with us.
Oh, no, thank you.
This is so fun.
Yeah.
Man, we're excited to have you here. So one of the first questions we want to start is you're the taco editor for Texas Monthly. How in the world did that come about? It seems like a dream job. It's not one that you find on Indeed.com, So how does that happen?
So there is no roadmap to being the taco editor. A young journalist once asked me how I got to where I was, and I said, long nights, occasionally blood, lots of sweating because we're in Texas, and he quit the industry. He's in banking now, which is good for him. That's great money.
Yeah.
But for me, it became an obsession. Okay, so it was 2015. Let me backtrack. When I first moved to Texas with my Texan wife, and our 8-month-old boy, I didn't have a job. I needed a job. And Mark Donald of the Dallas Observer called me up and asked me if I like tacos. I said, who doesn't like tacos? Right?
That's an easy answer.
Yeah. So he asked me to pitch him something. I did. That became the weekly Taco Trail reviews. And in 2015, I co-edited that year's Best Tacos list for Texas Monthly. That's when I pitched the job the first time.
Yeah.
The current editor at that point told me politely no by telling me that they were working on budgets. All right? So I don't like hearing no. I kept freelancing for them, for anyone, and I had a full-time job as a food editor at another publication. And in 2019, they said yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Persistence is key.
Yeah. That's the thing that my parents taught my sisters and I. Fight for what you believe in, no matter how small. And man, when I pitched it the last time, right, I wrote 4 pages. That was a job description, and a bunch of pitches, projects, this and that, One day it was, we're going to make you a contractor. And then the next day it was, you're not going to be full time. I said, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Actually, my first question was, do I need to relocate to Austin? The response was, we prefer you not.
That's interesting.
So I did it. I said, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Cliff.
Fascinating.
Staying in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that was 2019
Yeah.
when you started as taco editor.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that's 5 years of taco editing. I'm sure you've eaten so many amazing tacos. And here in Oak Cliff, I mean, we are spoiled
Yeah.
with tacos, it seems like. I mean, where do you even start with the taco scene in Oak Cliff?
I say it's grown a lot and for the better. I have noticed, though, that a lot of places that were 24 hours a day are no longer 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a result of the pandemic, but if you go to LCI, there's always a line.
That's right.
The line is longer for the elotero than the tacos. So I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a place for everyone.
Yeah.
And there are some unique spots. For me, the benchmark though would be Mascaras.
Yeah, of course.
It is singular. There's no other Guadalajaran place that I have found. A lot of places will tell you that they're Guadalajaran style or that they're Jalisco style, but how many places are named Jalisco this, Jalisco that? Everything is Jalisco, right? So, but this place actually follows through.
Yeah.
And their specialties are magnificent. Tacos ahogados, which is carnitas tacos, slightly fried, and then baked in a hot sauce. So drowned tacos, amazing.
That's making me hungry right now.
Amazing.
It's towards the end of the day. Yeah.
And if you don't eat them fast enough, well, it's okay to use a fork and knife.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
Wow.
go.
Fork and knife taco. I
That's
love it.
awesome. Well, we I kind of wanted to ask you the question of like Tex-Mex. I know this is something that a lot of people associate when they think of Texas, the style, and even just like, I mean, what maybe we're known for to an extent, and maybe not. But what are some misunderstandings about that, and then also what is that for our scene in Texas as we are today?
There's a joke that only has a punchline. There's Tex-Mex, and then there's that beep in Dallas. All right? And yeah, it's funny, whatever.
Yeah.
But that glosses over the fact that Dallas restaurants nationalized Tex-Mex, like the Cuellar families, El Chico, the last one they had here was El Corazon, and it was great.
Yeah.
I keep in contact with John Cuellar, who was the co-owner with his cousin Gilbert, but that family has history going back to the early 1900s, and you have history here in Dallas of what became Tex-Mex going back even further. Tex-Mex as we know it, though, came from the border after the border was set, and suddenly supply trains were cut off. People had to substitute ingredients. The treaty promised that these new Americans, previously Mexicans, would be treated like full American citizens. They were not. And they were systematically impoverished. So they had to rely on government commodities like cheese. Then you had immigrant groups coming in with their own spices and trading and mixing. And then you have Tex-Mex. But it's a food of poverty that developed out of necessity and then, contrary to popular belief, was not some sort of whitewashed Mexican cuisine, because the first Tex-Mex restaurant was in Marfa, and it opened in 1887.
What?
And it closed in the 90s.
Wow.
It lasted 100 years.
Yeah.
I've never heard that. The first Tex-Mex restaurant was
Yeah.
in Marfa.
Yeah.
What was the name of it?
Burundas.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the lady's name.
Okay. Huh.
And it was one house, a tiny house with one of those wood burning stoves, small kitchen, a couple of tables, no smoking allowed, and if she didn't like you, you were kicked out.
Huh. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's awesome.
These stories occur. They're natural, and to think that Tex-Mex is not Mexican is to really do a disservice to the hardworking people who were able to open restaurants or cook at restaurants to give their children and their grandchildren better lives. For example, John Quare went to Harvard, got an MBA, and then came back to run the family business.
That's amazing.
Who does that?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I've never heard that history, and it's fascinating to think Tex-Mex was born out of necessity, really, based on limitations and what ingredients you could get and what you could get easily or cheaply.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, I think hearing too when you talk about this, and I don't know if this plays a role, but it's Dallas's that bleep in Dallas, what you're saying. But it did nationalize it, and I think that's kind of interesting. I even think of wasn't the frozen margarita invented here or something like that? So
Yes.
They said it couldn't be done.
They said
Yeah, no, that's true.
yeah.
They said it couldn't be frozen, and it was.
They figured it out.
Yeah.
Dallas proved them wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're welcome, everyone else. But
A million Cinco de Mayo hangovers.
oh
Yeah,
man,
that's right.
that is the truth.
But it's interesting because it does speak to the evolution of food, and I'd be curious. I mean, you see tacos more than probably just about anybody.
Anywhere in Texas.
Yeah, at least in
Yeah.
Texas, maybe beyond it. And evolution of food seems like a natural thing. Then it's like something that is a part of culture changing and just affected by so many things. So I'd be curious to kind of hear what evolution you've seen in the taco scene over the last maybe 5 years of being the taco editor, but maybe further than that.
So it used to be that only the cheap, greasy taco places could survive for a lot of prejudices and a lot of stereotypes. It drives me crazy that people like what they call dirty holes in the wall. Everyone wants a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone wants a nice place. And so what happened was the market allowed for higher quality products. It allowed for experimentation. People dug it. People ate it. sometimes they complained, oh, that's a $5 taco. Well, you usually get what you pay for, right? So that $5 taco is now, it's just worth it. There's this myth of the $1 taco. All tacos now, I would say, are on average at the lowest level $2 to $3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even Fuel City, which is across the river,
Yeah.
right? Went for under $1 to well above $1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Since I started
Really?
as the taco editor, but now it's a lot of regionality. I previously mentioned mascaras, you know, and so I think it's a great time for tacos, and eventually everything gets folded into a tortilla.
That's right.
Especially at home, right? You're like,
100%.
oh, I have tortillas. I have leftover tater tots. Well, first question is why do you have leftover tater tots?
Yeah, that's a red flag. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I remember when you first, I think you took me to Fuel City for this my first experience there, and it absolutely blew my mind. It was so good.
This is like 3 a.m.
It probably was,
a 3 a.m. taco. Yeah.
How drunk were you?
Hey.
I was a bit younger too. I don't know. I think this was probably many years before the pandemic. Actually, now.
It's probably after a concert or something because you're like right.
It was just so good, and I just never had tacos like that. It was the best.
So I think you need to try Fuel City tacos if you come to Dallas.
Yeah.
It's the taqueria that put us on the map.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But I've looked inside the window and I've seen what goes on. And you are taking your life in your hands if you go in there. The barbacoa is like shotgunning used cooking oil, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
that's funny.
But drunk tacos are a thing. At that point, you don't have any taste buds. Knock yourself out.
There you go. It's the time of the day.
Yeah. You know, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You've been out for a while. You need sustenance.
It's a good spot.
And it's really cheap.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And apparently there's like, I just never forget all the wild animals they have on their property too.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like a zebra or something. So I'll be eating a taco and there's a zebra over here or something. This is just wild.
Only at Fuel City. You get that kind of experience.
Well, speaking of tacos, and you being the editor, I know the taco guide is coming out this next week. What can you tell everyone about what goes into doing this guide and releasing this through Texas Monthly? Give us a little sneak peek, if you would.
Sure. So the feature comes out about every 4 years. And this is the first Best Tacos feature that I have full control over.
Oh, wow.
Because
awesome.
the pandemic changed things.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So over the span of 6 months or so, I visited 428 places.
Wow.
Across the state.
428.
Yes.
In 6 months.
Some of
so
these
many.
places are in census designated areas, which means they're not incorporated towns. They might not even have a post office.
Wow.
You found some.
And the tacos I ate, I think are more than 1,200, not including double orders and return visits. So I tried to get 100 in because I'm a glutton for punishment. Emphasis on the word glutton, but the word count was too much. Then I tried to get it down to 75, 75.
Yeah.
Then I tried to get it down to 63. Then I got it down to 50 with 13 honorable mentions.
Nice.
And sidebars and all that stuff. Now, this feature is very different. Not only is there a list, but I coin a term for a burgeoning Texas cuisine called Nuevo Tejano. And it's basically Mexican immigrants, Mexican Americans, anyone, Tejanos, Texans, who are pushing Mexican food forward by using their childhood flavors and ingredients with higher quality corn, for example, nixtamalizing. One place in San Antonio puts Big Red into their nixtamalized masa and then puts the barbacoa right on top.
What?
That's amazing.
So that's the kind of dish that I talk about when I talk about this cuisine.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's
Nuevo
awesome.
Tejano.
Nuevo Tejano.
All
That's
right.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
That's exciting.
Okay, so you've got 400. You said 428
Yeah.
places. How do you even go about making a list of where to visit? I mean, is it seems like finding a place in a town that isn't even incorporated sounds challenging, but is it word of mouth that you hear about these things? Do people send them to you? How does it
You're
come
talking
about?
to someone who's all about data too. So
Well,
he's
yeah, I
like,
do.
he's like, how do I get all this
That's right.
into this?
I keep copious amounts of spreadsheets.
Yes, now,
Now
we're
you
talking.
guys are speaking.
Now
Yeah,
we're
you
talking.
So for every first of all, I have a master list,
Yep.
right? It's poorly organized,
Sure.
right? It's just names and towns and maybe a note, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And then for every trip, it takes me about 3 weeks to research, map out, build a spreadsheet, and hit the road. And then I'm terrible with logistics. But I have a couple of friends who do that stuff for a living.
That's good friends to surround yourself with. Then.
Yeah. So they help me plan out where to go when.
Nice.
And it's actually not as crazy as you would think. Yes, in 2015, I visited 13 places in El Paso. It's the most I've hit in one place at any one time, and I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
I usually now, like 3 to 5 is good. I like to push it to 5, so that I can get more stories out of it. you
Sure.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it. A lot of spreadsheets, a lot of notes, tips. Yes, I will get requests to come by a taqueria, and I always say thank you.
Yeah.
If I have time, I will go.
Mm-hmm.
But I never tell them that I'm going.
Oh,
If it's for a review, if it's for a profile, if it's for a post-meal interview, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
different story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you're building out this taco guide, in you being a food critic in this sense, how do you approach this? Is it something that you've thought you would be, or that you're you said you almost like don't tell people when you go to review? Is that how does that process look like as you're going to all these places?
So, first of all, while I do criticism, I really try to focus on my goal, which is to tell the stories of the people who make the food.
Yeah.
Especially now, it's extremely important to humanize them. Right? And I want to tell a good story. I can't tell you how many times a mediocre meal turned into a wonderful one just by hearing the stories.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And just like crying and
That's amazing.
all this stuff. So, but when I go in, I have rules.
Yeah.
I look to see what everyone's eating, and then I order something I've loved, something I've hated, something I'm a little mid on, and then a wild card. Okay? And then I think about what the place is trying to do. For example, I can't critique or analyze a worker's taqueria the same way that I would approach a place where 2 tacos might cost you $20. Right? That's just not fair.
Yeah, they're different.
Yeah. So when it comes to traditional preparations, I look to see, do they have the tortillas right? Were the fillings made traditionally? If not, why? But ultimately, if it tastes good, none of it else. Nothing else matters.
That's a good overarching
awesome.
principle
That's a
right
good-
there.
that's a
I like
good
that
rule.
one.
I know. I
These
like
these
that.
feel like very actionable things for us to try when we
can
go
take-
eat tacos.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I know also within this guide, are there any kind of new trends that you're seeing or things? I know for a long time, maybe the last couple of years, is the dipping tacos, and maybe still is. But I know. Are there any things that you're like, hey, this is something I'm discovering or seeing or picking up on that that you want to share?
Sure. So there's more of an effort to return to truly handmade artisan tortillas through the nixtamalization process, which is basically soaking the corn in an alkaline solution, cooking it, letting it rest, rinsing it, and then grinding it into tortillas, right? That whole process can take 24 hours. That does not make for a $2 taco.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what places like Molino Oloyo, which pops up here in the neighborhood every weekend, does. They ferment their chilies and their fruits for their salsas. So they're very great. I mean, excellent salsas. And also guisados. Now, guisados are basically homey dishes. I call them the rule breakers because they encompass so much. Everything from weenies and eggs to moles. Then you have picadillos, and you have asados, and you have chicharrones, and you have fritters, and everything we are trying to get back to these homey roots. We want comforting food, and why not? I don't know.
That sounds amazing.
They should make you feel good.
Yeah.
They should make you
Yeah.
feel like you want more. They should make you feel comfortable and excited and in love. You know?
That's exciting to hear that. That's a trend. I think we got to spend some time in Mexico City and went to Pujol, and that was like one of the first times I got to see the tortillas, I guess, like the different heritage corns and everything made in that way. But Molino, you said, even being here in the neighborhood doing some of this stuff, that's like going back to the craft of that is awesome. That's we're looking forward to the guide and seeing what all you share on this and all the work you put together to kind of put that awesome guide together. So
How long of a time frame were you out on the road tasting tacos and developing the guide?
6 months.
Okay.
3 weeks out of every month. Thankfully, that's all winding down, and I get to see my family more.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was rough, man.
That's a labor of love
so
right there
rough.
for
And it's lonely sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you're just there in your hotel room, or you're eating hotel breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, not exactly the best.
No.
But I love it.
yeah.
Most of the time.
As long as there's a net positive, you know, you're good.
Yeah,
You're good.
for sure. I can't forget that I have a dream job.
Yeah.
And then I'm really lucky.
Yeah.
So I have to kick myself to, not complain.
Yeah. It seems like, you've got the dream job, and also tacos has such a community around it. So it's like it's a fun place to be in, and or it seems like a meaningful place to be in. And so how would you say you've kind of found yourself in that community, and then also how do tacos kind of shape a community? Because I feel like people are always wanting to explore and see what this community is offering. So how does that come about?
Tacos are never good by yourself.
Yeah.
Right. They're really great when you're at a crowded taco stand.
Yeah.
Just clawing for your taco.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And just enjoying it with this mass of people. Tacos make for instant community in that way, but also growing up, my wife says that they didn't eat tacos at home. They eat guisados. Maybe they were tortillas. Right? So that's a family meal with tortillas. By the way, my wife's Mexican American. Yeah. For context, that became tacos outside of the home, right? But now the culture is very much, how I put this, it's in some cases really competitive. You know,
See that.
who's got the best tacos?
Yeah.
Well, sure, I want to rank them. I think we all
Have our own
categorize
rankings. Yeah.
things, you know, but there are plenty of bad ones. That's okay. But let's enjoy the ones that are great, and let's do it together.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like the other day we were talking about what kind of food do you just not get tired of? And it might be different for you. I don't know, but it's okay, sandwiches and tacos. It's just we're constantly around tacos, and we love it, and I don't see us getting tired of that ever. And it's so much variety to it.
It's endless, right?
Yeah.
So we eat the tacos and Mexican food without thinking about it. We take it for granted.
Yeah, that's true.
And we shouldn't, because there are hardworking people
Absolutely.
making them for us. And when we're at home, someone cooked that food. I just think that tacos are a natural. Sandwiches are a natural. What happens when you're late to work? You bring in breakfast tacos, or you bring in donuts.
Yeah.
But
If you're in
let's
Texas,
forget about donuts.
Yeah, that's right.
Or if you're in Texas, it's
Yeah.
usually
You're the guy that brought in the breakfast tacos.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
everybody loves you.
Yeah.
This is-
Everyone forgot that you're 20 minutes late.
That's right. That's a good move.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, Jose, you're the author of American Tacos, A History and Guide. Can you tell us a little bit about that book, and also maybe where people can pick up a copy?
Sure. It's the first national survey of U.S. regional tacos. I cover the stories of each taco, how it developed, and the people who make them. And it's 9 chapters now. And I didn't realize what I had done when I looked at the table of contents and I saw that the chapters go from morning to night. From breakfast to the fancy tacos that you eat for dinner.
I love it. I love it. A
I
very
didn't realize
natural
It just
progression.
happened.
Yeah.
But you can pick them up at your local independent bookstore. You can order them online. Bookshop.org works with independent bookstores.
Cool.
And they'll mail them to you. I don't want to mention the big bad, but yeah, please pick it up. And it's small enough that you can just carry it with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
love it.
awesome. Well, yeah, we're just we're excited about all the work you're doing, and people should get a copy of that book. And
Thanks for spending 6 months on the road tasting tacos from 428 places so that we know where to go. And yeah, we just love that you're here in Oak Cliff. So
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Yeah. I've been living here for almost 15 years, and I don't ever want to leave.
it's a special place.
Yeah.
It's the place to be. So, we're just thankful for the work and getting to be in the same neighborhood with you. So,
Oh,
yeah.
likewise. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Hidden City. We hope you discovered something about Oak Cliff that you didn't know. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you subscribe to it on YouTube and then follow us on any of the podcasting platforms. Also, if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend. And thanks so much for tuning in.